All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with, of course, smiling Sam Alvey, the guy that just never stops smiling, and it is truly contagious. But, sir, thank you so much for taking some time every day to join us here.
It is my pleasure, sir. Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course, but of course, I don't know how you wouldn't know, but of course, Sam Alvey is a light heavyweight fighter in the UFC. 33-14, just had his first draw most in his most recent fight. Most recently, that was at UFC 254. Of course, that Habib Gaethje card had a phenomenal fight against Un Jung and came out to a draw, but it was one hell of a way to start the prelims.
Yeah, it was great. Everything but the decision was great. It was a good fight. I stand by. I won the fight. The judges are terrible. The judges are terrible. Despite my fight, the judges are terrible in this sport.
Well,
I don't think they're crooked yet, like in boxing, but they're pretty bad at their job in MMA.
Well, who's been that one that one judge that like the past two or three cards now he's given like a really bad score in the main event.
Oh, he was the one that what had Dos Santos,
Yeah, Felder win.
Rafael dos Anjos,
Yeah,
losing to yeah.
come on, man. I mean, yeah, that's a whole thing. Would you like to talk about that? Do we need to make some changes to the judging? Because there's been a
Yeah.
problem this year.
Oh, it's just garbage. And what it is so the people, anyone can learn to be a judge. I'm not of the mindset that fighters have to be judges, because I've met plenty of fighters that I argue with over who won a round, who won a fight. So fighters aren't necessarily going to make it better.
Mhm.
But someone just, it might have been yesterday even, gave me an idea, and I love the idea. Add more judges. We have 3, add 10. Make it or 11, so it's harder. Yeah, uh, make it like that. That would help solve the problem so much. Or if you don't want to go that many, have 5. Just add more judges. So when there is a shitty judge,
Mhm.
their opinion doesn't matter as much because there's a lot more good judges.
Well, I guess I would just have more good than bad. Yeah, I mean, numbers wise, that's great. And what do you think about showing the score of each round, like up on the scoreboard every single after every round? Like you have the fighter win, it shows like the score from that round that the judges gave. Are you a fan of that idea?
I've only seen it once, and that
Hmm.
was with LFA. I wasn't opposed to it. I don't think it'll help um, judging get any better,
Hmm.
but it might help the fighter if the
Hmm.
fighter knows he's winning, but the judges are screwing him. It might help that. Um, but I don't know if it would help judging exactly,
Hmm.
because if it's going to be judged poorly, it'll just be judged poorly, and you'll know sooner.
I feel like that's at least a little better than waiting till the end of a fight to find out, but it's still not the best idea. Of course, at least this has definitely been a growing sport, though, and hopefully we'll see some more changes coming up soon. I'm sure Dana White has some plans because that guy is just come out full of ideas all the time.
He is. He is taking this sport from nothing to one of the biggest sports on the planet.
And see, that's kind of where I want to start off with this because, of course, you've been fighting. You made your professional debut in 2008, and I'm sure that must feel like a lifetime ago. And
Mm.
you've really just been ever. I mean, let me just run through the list of promotions I have you in: King of the Cage, the Wisconsin Regionals. Of course, you are from Wisconsin. The Madtown Throwdown, Combat USA, the Caribbean Ultimate Fist Fighting, which I'm sure is one hell of a venue.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was down in Trinidad, and they didn't pay anything, but I got to go to Trinidad.
That's always a bonus. You're also in North American Fighting Championship, Bellator, Mexico Regionals, Industry of Combat New Zealand, Rec MMA, Show Fight, Maximum Fighting Championship. Made your UFC debut in 2014 UFC Fight Night 47. Am I missing anything or is that
I've been in a lot of them. I fought anywhere and everywhere.
that's a fact? I mean, do you can you like remember every fight you've had because you had a long career at this point? So like, are you kind of missing something in your head now, or do you still have a decent grasp on what you've
No,
done?
I still remember every fight. I There's 2 or 3 opponents that I'll forget their names of. Usually it's like the foreign guys. Like my last fight at 185.
Hmm.
For the life of me, I cannot remember that guy's name. But he was a Polish or Russian guy, and so there was a lot of syllables involved. So it wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't Brian Smith. I remember all the Brian Smiths I fought, but no, to this day, I still remember every fight, and I could probably list them all out even.
Oh,
I mean, shoot, I've got over 70 fights.
mm-hmm.
Professional, amateur, I've got 7 Muay Thai fights in there. I've got a lot, and I remember almost all of them.
That's pretty impressive. And then going off of that, though, out of these at least non-UFC promotions, non-UFC fights, do you have one that really stands out to you? Do you have a certain promotion or fight that stands out to you the most?
The MFC, I love the MFC. It was right off the Ultimate Fighter,
Mm-hmm.
and they signed me, and they helped get me into the UFC. They were just the biggest promotion, the second oldest promotion in the world. If the UFC was one,
Mm-hmm.
MFC was two. They've been around forever. They've helped build some of the greatest fighters the UFC's ever had. And, I was really a big fan of Mark Pavlich, was the owner of it.
So that's your guy. Do you have like a certain fight from that that you really like to hold in memory, or is it just the promotion in general was a good time?
Just the promotion itself. I liked fighting in the ring. It was one of the first promotions that I fought in that just treated me like a superstar. Even more than Bellator did before that.
Mm-hmm.
They really cared about the fighters, and that they put us first. They really gave me that taste of what the next level fight competition is.
Oh, I saw the nose peeking to the shot right there. Your dog trying to sneak into the interview.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's a big baby,
Oh,
but she always wants to be anywhere I am.
that's perfect. And then with it, kind of going off of that, then, do you have like a preference, octagon, ring? Is there like benefits to the ring that are better than the octagon?
I like watching fights in the ring more than I like watching them in the octagon. I think
Mm.
they're a lot easier to see. Um, but I prefer fighting in the cage. I've got, I think, the 5th highest takedown defense rating in the UFC history, and it would be harder to have that with a ring than it is with the cage.
I'm sure about that. Let's keep that rate kind of intact. Let's keep that record going.
Yes.
And then going into the UFC though, with your long, extensive list of fights, do you have one that stands out the most to you?
Uh, my Nate Marquardt fight is probably one of my favorite fights. It was a good fight, but
Mm-hmm.
he was my coach on the Ultimate Fighter. I was on Team Shane Carwin, but he was a coach on the show. So it was really something special getting to fight your coach, somebody I had so much respect for. So somebody he was a stud. And it was probably one of the toughest, most fun fights I've had.
It certainly was. I mean, that's always a fun one to go back to watch. Funny that you mentioned that because that's kind of one of the ones that stuck out to me when I was trying to watch some of your career highlights and stuff like that. It definitely does stick out. And then since you bring up Ultimate Fighter, can we talk about that a little bit? Because of course you were a part of season 16 back in 2012. Had a couple fights on that, and UFC just made big announcement recently that they're bringing it back for another season. This is going to start in March of 2021 with the bantamweight and the middleweights. And so, what was your time on the Ultimate Fighter like, and what do you think is going to happen with this kind of reboot of it?
The reboot's going to get really high ratings. I mean, ESPN's got a hold of it, and they're going to do everything they can to make the show bigger, better, and better than it ever has been. My time on it was, everyone expects it to be super exciting and constantly new things, and it was so boring. I mean, it really is. You're stuck in a house. It's a really nice house, but you're stuck in a house with 16 other dudes, and that's who you get to talk to for 6 weeks. Fighters are not that interesting, most of them anyways. They like talking about fighting, and you kind of get sick of that around, hour 2. But you're there for 6 weeks. You get to work out once or twice a day, and it was a lot of fun getting to know the coaches, getting to know some of the fighters. Neil Magny and I think we're the only two that are still in the UFC from that season. But we had we're still buddies in that regard.
That's cool.
But I still talk to the coaches, Trevor Whitman, Nate Marquardt, Shane Carwin every now and then. And it was a lot of fun getting to know the guys. But the show itself was really boring.
And now with that, what was it like? Because the seasons were all pre-taped before they were put out, and you had to be all secret about it, and not talk about it, not to ruin it. Was that a weird thing to deal with too?
For me, it was a little bit because I lost right away. I was the
Hmm.
first pick, and then I lost my next fight. And so for me, I had 5 weeks on the show of knowing I lost, and then I got off, and I had another five weeks till the show started airing, and it was just I just wanted it to be over. I was just tired. I told my girlfriend, now wife at the time, I got off the plane and said I lost immediately, and it was a boring fight.
Please be able to admit that. That's pretty bold. Also, but thinking about this, that some of the biggest things is always the coaching matchup. That's always what people are excited about. So if you had to guess right now, who do you think they'd be making the coaches, or at least trying to have the coaches be for this new
I
season?
thought they were already announced. I thought it was
What?
Colby versus Mastival.
Oh, I didn't know that was official. I
I,
thought that
I
was just
thought it was.
rumors.
It might not be. You probably know better than I do, but I thought that was the coaches.
I hope they make it. I'm just trying to hope. The only problem with that is that their fight's probably going to take longer to get to now, which sucks. But
Yeah, and that does seem to be the thing with Ultimate Fighter. The coaches are always supposed to fight, and I don't think the coaches have fought ever at the end of it.
I mean, unless you're Chael Sonnen fighting in flip flops and jeans,
Yes, yeah.
not in the octagon, but I'm sure that is probably the greatest thing that has ever happened in that show. It's probably
It's between that and the Let Me Bang, bro. The two high.
the Ultimate is fire. So I'm sure we both can agree that it's going to be so much fun to have back. It's
Yeah,
definitely a
I'm
fan
looking
favorite.
forward to it. Hopefully, I'm going to have a couple teammates on it.
Nice.
Uh, yeah, I hope to, and it'll be a lot more fun when I know the guys on it.
Exactly. That'd be awesome. But I mean, you're no stranger, of course, with your whole career. You've been everywhere. Like we said, Trinidad and Tobago. You've been just fighting in the Ultimate Fighter. And then your most recent fight, UFC 254, of course, that took place at Fight Island. So what was that? I'm sure that was a pretty unique experience to you, even given how many experiences you've had. So what was that whole experience like?
Yeah, it was the Fight Island. You know, when they first announced it, I kind of thought the UFC was going to buy an island.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to be like just desert island with some trees and coconuts or whatever. They'd build a tent and have us fight in the cage.
You in the middle of the
But
Pacific or something, right? That right?
yeah, that's kind of that's what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be a really nice tent, but I thought that's what it's going to be. But no, it was not that. We were over at the UAE, United Arab
Yep.
Emirate, UAE, and it was just beautiful. It was maybe the most expensive island I've ever. I mean, it might have been the most expensive island on the planet. But it was there were condos and there were I mean multi-million-dollar boats down in the harbor and then F1 racetrack going under the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, and it was really a lot of fun getting to go and experience that part of the world. I didn't get to do much with the culture because everything was quarantined and we were in a bubble. We didn't get to meet anyone, but it was a lot of fun getting to be part of something like that.
From like a fan experience. The hype. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't like a little disappointed that it wasn't just some island in the middle of the Pacific. But of course, I mean Dana White's really cool and all, but I don't think he's like a James Bond type villain to do that. But it's still a super cool venue that they have. I'm sure that the Octagon on the beach is pretty sick too.
It was very cool. Hey, I was disappointed though. I thought it was a real octagon, but it was just plywood on the bottom. I was gonna get up there and I was gonna roll and spar around with my wife, but no, it was just uh, wood plywood on the bottom.
I'm sure everyone listening to this has just had their hopes and dreams just shattered with that bad news. Sure,
Yeah,
it's never
it was a
secrets,
real
man.
cage though. It was actual. It was the real cage. It just you couldn't have done anything on the ground.
You probably would just hurt a little bit more than usual, I'm sure, huh?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And then, so going off of that, like we're keep bringing up, but as a veteran in this industry, the MMA as a whole and martial arts around the world have gone through drastic changes over time, especially more recently. I mean, this era of UFC is nowhere near the same that it was like say 10 years ago. So being through multiple eras, what has it been like to see the changes in MMA in the UFC, and what do you think has been the most notable one so far?
Well, if you look at how it was, the UFC has progressed. It started off jiu-jitsu dominated everything. Then after jiu-jitsu, it was kind of wrestling took over, and wrestling took over for quite a while. Then you got into the takedown defense with striking era, where they could stop the wrestlers, they could stop the jiu-jitsu, and the knockouts were coming. And right now they're in just the freak athlete era. If you look at who the champions are, I mean, the top competitors in the world, they're not jiu-jitsu fighters, they're not Muay Thai fighters, they're not wrestlers, they're just freak athletes. You look at the John Joneses, who's just a freak athlete, the Nogannus, the Romeros, the list goes on. The Usman is a wrestler, but he's still pretty freaky.
Yeah, he's huge for welterweight too.
Right. And so you'll see a lot of stuff like that. It's right now you're just in the freak athlete part, and we're kind of on the cusp of figuring out whatever the Daghestanis are doing. The Khabib guys, they're wrestlers kind of, but they're more dominant than any wrestler we've seen before. So that might be the era that takes out the super athletes, is whatever this catch wrestling is that the Russians are doing. So it's been really cool watching as the sport and the athletes all progress. Because eventually someone's going to figure out how to stop the Khabib takedown and then the Khabib triangle of the legs. Someone's going to figure it out. And as soon as someone figures it out, everyone's going to have figured it out. And then the sport will progress again.
It's probably one of the coolest parts about it. I mean, going back to, let's talk about the Pride days and compare those to now. It's almost two totally different sports, and the evolution of it has been really cool to see, and for you to be a part of it, I'm sure it has to be cool too. So how have you had to kind of change your game over the era and change your style to kind of keep up in a way?
Maybe that's my problem the last couple fights. I haven't changed enough. I've always been the slow, awkward guy that'll hit you on the way in. And I never meant to be a fighter. I didn't grow up watching fighting or anything like that. I just kind of went out and did what I did. And I haven't gotten a knockout in a minute. So I got to tweak something. I gotta try and progress. Maybe I'll try and start Khabibing some people in my next fight.
Hey, I'm for that. You just got to start throwing stuff at the ball, see what sticks. And then you bring that up. You weren't really a fighter. Can you elaborate kind of what got you into MMA then?
Somebody asked, so somebody said, "Hey, you want to fight?" I said, "Yeah, okay." And that was really it. I didn't even start training until I was a professional. And I didn't know the UFC was out there until I was probably 6 or 7-1 as a professional. I didn't. It was just something that paid me a couple $100 every month that I did it. I had a great time doing it. I loved every second of it. I really enjoyed it. But it was not something I intended to do for the rest of my life. And then as soon as I found out about the UFC, I said, well, okay, I'll do that. And then it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. But now here I am, 20 fights in the UFC. And I just can't wait to get my 21st.
So was it that drive to make the UFC that kept you so dedicated to fighting?
I never have to wear shoes. And that's like now the goal of my life is to remain never having to wear shoes. And so when I was early in my career, where I wasn't a career, it was just something I did and got paid for, I didn't have to wear shoes, and I wanted to keep that going. And I said, well, the UFC, if the UFC will pay me enough, I don't need to wear shoes. And so I just kept doing it. And it was a great decision past Sam made.
That certainly is the first time I've heard that answer to the question. Let's quote that. I'll put that in a quote. Why is Sam Alvey stick to fighting? It's because I didn't have to wear shoes.
Don't have to wear shoes. And my wife hates it. She takes photos of, we'll be sitting across couches from another, and she'll take a picture of my feet and just send it to me. Said it's gross. You should wash it. I do wash them more than most people. They're just barefoot. I mean, I wear shoes to get from my house to my car, and then I'm in the car. I take them off again. I am barefoot 98% of the day.
I think you really are living the dream then. I could only dream that I didn't have to wear shoes like that. So hats off to you. I'm sure that has to be just fantastic. Not even slides too. Not even flip-flops. Just barefoot, man.
Yeah. I wear barefoot or flip-flops from the house to the car, from the car to the gym. But they just, as soon as I'm inside, they're out and I am barefoot.
All right, your thoughts on toe shoes then?
My wife loves them. I've got fancy toes. This is my big toe. These two toes are connected at the second knuckle. So I can't get the I can't get the toe shoe that's comfortable.
I think that's why it's best to be barefoot then. You just don't have to deal with that.
Then I've got nothing to deal with. My feet never sweat. The bottoms of them just turn black.
I think that's okay. I'm sure you had some massive calluses on there too. So
Oh my god.
you step
Yeah,
on glass,
they're
and
so bad.
I feel like Legos are nothing when you step on them.
Oh, my kid. Oh, they're so bad. And every now and then they'll split the callus. And that's about the worst pain. Actually, so I'm on TikTok now, and TikTok is the greatest app ever. If anyone watching is on TikTok, follow me.
Where can we find you then?
I'm at Smilin Sam.
Okay.
It's the same thing as on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. I'm
Sweet.
the same everywhere. But yeah, my first video that kind of took off on TikTok was I had a callus that burst on my feet. I just kind of filmed and said, yeah, this is what a real injury looks like. It's not the broken arms or the toes that go in the wrong direction. It's the little stupid calluses that break. No, it's gonna bother me. And that video took off. And it was, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So Sam Alvey, also TikTok legend. Let's add that to your resume as well. It always seems like the biggest injuries. I mean, you could kind of deal with them, but it's those little kind of nagging things are the worst, like blisters and stuff like that.
Yeah, my toe right there. It has been broken for about 4 years right now, and I've just developed. I don't have to use that foot. It's just gonna be broken until the day I die. And I've got fingers that won't go straight anymore, and it's just part of the sport. Most of it. Every time I get hurt, I just try and ignore it until I hurt something else worse, and then I forget about the first thing. And it's been 14 or 15 years of that strategy, and it's been working real well.
That's the dad strategy perfect. Every time I would complain to my dad, he'd go, "What hurts?" And I point to it, they just hit like the other side.
Yeah.
And then, hey, does that hurt anymore? No, this hurts, but it doesn't matter. So it really is perfect.
About it, yeah.
So what we do with all of our everyone that we have on, what we have is what we call fighter favorites. So we got 5 categories. Just top of your head, list your favorite thing for the category. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So starting us off, favorite food.
Pizza.
Do you have a favorite topping?
Green peppers. That's pretty much all I put on my pizzas.
Green peppers and cheese.
What's that?
So just green peppers and cheese?
Yeah, that's pretty much my pizza. And I'll go deep dish like that. I'll go thin crust like that. Whatever it is, that's about it. I like ricotta cheese on pizza too, but it's not an everyday kind of thing.
No, but hey, that's where the fancy kind of pizza's right there.
Yes,
all right, next up, favorite music.
I love bluegrass and 90s country.
Do you have a favorite guy then?
Garth Brooks, but that was everyone's favorite at the time. Garth is the greatest vocalist that's ever been.
I don't think there's too much controversy to that statement. Next up, your favorite hobby outside of fighting.
There's hunting and fishing. I grew up doing that. Now that I'm in stupid California, I can't do that nearly as much as I used to be able to. But I'm trying to get out of California, and then I'll start doing it again.
Best of luck to you. I was able to escape when I moved for college. So
yeah. Oh man. Just don't let. Yeah, I can't wait to get out of this godforsaken state.
Nevada.
Tennessee. I'm moving.
Oh,
yeah.
Lucky. Good for you. That's awesome. Go to the home of the bluegrass too. That's just perfect.
Yes.
Next up, favorite TV show or movie.
Okay. Favorite movie is. Oh, excuse me. Favorite movie is The Greatest Showman. It came out I think 2 years ago. Love that movie. Favorite TV show? That's a tricky one because I watch everything's Netflix now. So I Dragon Ball Z is probably the easy go-to, but they're the first 3 seasons of Community were the funniest thing that TV has ever made. Big fan of but season 4 and 5 were kind of garbage.
It always feels like the best shows just kind of fall off after a few, and then it just kind of ruins it, which is a bummer. But going off of this question, it's the time of the season. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Although, fun fact, Die Hard came out in May when it first came out. So you could argue that it's not. But they brought it out in May. It was a blockbuster.
All right, but according to you, it is a Christmas movie.
It is a Christmas movie.
Same idea, same concept. Is Home Alone an action movie?
No, I'm gonna put that in the Christmas movie category also.
That's fair.
It is. Die Hard and Home Alone, same movie, just about.
Just a little older with more extreme traps.
Yeah.
That's fair. Last, who is your favorite fighter?
Well, Dan Henderson is my head coach, so if I don't say him, he'll beat me up. So I got to say Dan
I'm sure he
Henderson.
still can, huh? He still has it.
Oh, he does. He's only good for a round at a time, but for that round, he'll beat anyone. So swear to goodness. So Dom Reyes, before he was fighting John Jones,
Mhm.
2 weeks before, so he was in fight condition.
Yeah.
Hendo showed up off the couch and just beat the brakes off him. I mean, and Dom is beating all of us up. Dom has had rounds where he's beating Hendo up. Dom's a stud, but it was so impressive to see Hendo. Just beat the shit out of him.
Wow.
For a round. He couldn't have done it for 2 rounds, but for a round, he was the best in the world at that moment.
Hey, Rumble Johnson's coming back. Let's get Hendo back in the cage.
Oh, don't do that to him. Don't. Although they both have gas tank for about a round.
It's not about how long you last; is what you can do in that round. It's
Yeah. If I can end it in the first 30 seconds, I don't need 35 seconds of cardio.
exactly. You don't need a gas tank that goes more than 5 minutes. If it doesn't get out of the 5 minutes, that's the best kind of logic
Yeah.
to have. But there we go. That's our fighter favorites. Then kind of to wrap things up, the question I want to ask you though is, what is going to be next for you in your career? Do you have something? Do you have another fight planned? Do you have something in mind? Are you still trying to put something together? But what is next for you, Sam Alvey?
I would love to fight Jack Marshman, but nothing's lined up right now. I guess I've been sick the last 2 or 3 days, so I've just been not thinking about anything except getting better. It's the damnedest thing. You get sick and just all other thought goes out of your mind. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I would love to fight Jack Marshman. So if you know him, put in a good word. Maybe we can make that happen.
Hey, I'll
And
add him on. I don't know how much power I'll hold compared to the UFC matchmakers, but add him on Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff. Let's get this fight
yeah,
going.
yeah. Well, and if we could do it early next year, that would be wonderful.
Talking quarter 1,
What's that?
first quarter of next year.
Yeah, for first month or two, I got to fight again.
Let's do that. I would love to make that happen. Maybe if you're in the first month, they're going to have their first card back at UFC Fight Island on the 20th of January. So hey, maybe we can get you back out there too.
Yeah, I could do that. I could do that.
And then just the final question I want to ask you, Sam, here is I like to ask all these fighters this, whether they're some older ones, kind of closer to you in terms of veteran status, younger ones, kind of like Corey McKenna that we just talked about, one of the youngest fighters in the UFC. But the question is, what do you think your legacy is, or what do you want your legacy on fighting to be?
I'm a fighter's fighter. I was not bred to be a fighter. I didn't grow up knowing I was going to be a fighter. I was just a guy that likes fighting. To this day, I like fighting. It's a means to an end, meaning I get paid for it, so I can do it. But it's one of those things. If I wasn't getting paid for it, I'd probably still be doing it. I've never said no to a fight. I've taken so many stupid fights and then won most of them and then lost a couple of them. My last middleweight fight, I cut 42 pounds in 10 days because the UFC asked me to. The Ultimate Fighter, they asked me to be 170. I said, all right, let's do it. And it was a means to an end. But I love fighting. So I would like to be remembered as a fighter's fighter.
Yeah, that whole kind of Cerrone kind of mentality right there. I'm sure he's just
Yeah,
kind of the poster
yeah,
boy for that at this point.
yeah. I love being compared to Cerrone.
I feel like that's a good comparison. So let's keep on comparing you to an absolute legend of the UFC. You yourself too, just with how much you've dedicated your life to the sport, how much you've dedicated your life to entertaining us fans. And Sam, I really do appreciate every time. Like I like to say to the fighters, every time they go out there, you guys are putting it all out on the line essentially for our entertainment. And I really do appreciate what you guys do for us.
Well, thank you very much. I wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for fans like you. So thank you.
See, that's why I can't wait to actually get people like us back in the arenas sooner rather than later. It's been so long.
Oh, it's been too long. It's been too long. It just, man. Well, the vaccines are coming, and hopefully people just stop caring.
I think fingers crossed for that. Always knock on wood for that. But Sam, thank you so much for taking some time to join us today. We can't wait till your next fight gets announced. Let's make that happen. Quarter one. Let's do it. Hopefully next couple months. Let's see you back in the cage sooner rather than later. That's just what's best for fans and what's best for our entertainment is when you're on the card.
Hey, I thank you very much for that.
Miss your smile. It's just always contagious, especially at the weigh-ins. Too bad it's kind of covered by a mask at this point, but we you can still see it shining through too. That's how good it is.
I'm doing the best I can. Got to sell it with my eyes.
That's the thing. It's eyes. But ladies and gentlemen, go check him out. Let's check out his TikTok. Let's make him TikTok famous too. Let's get that going. Check out his split callus because I'm sure that's just a beautiful sight to see.
Yeah. Oh, it hurts so much. Yeah.